So next up, podcast listeners, we have the dumbest bill in America. And do we have a lead up, Mr. Producer? Here it is.
Dum 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 dum.
And it's the dumbest bill in America, and it is Oregon's permanent mask mandate. Permanent, podcast listeners. A mask mandate that is permanent. We have a clip, but before we play the clip, we have to play, or at least read this to you. This is in the Daily Mail. Oregon is set to enforce permanent mask mandates for indoor public spaces as COVID cases continue to rise. So Oregon sparked panic when its health authority announced it was planning to make its mask mandate permanent for indoor public spaces. The state's health authority's rules advisory committee met with business leaders, faith leaders, and stakeholders on Thursday to discuss the worryingly worded draft of the next new mandate, which will be released in a week. And Dr. Paul Cieslak of the Oregon Health Authority said the permanent mandate is indefinite, as it can be repealed anytime by the state. So it's an indefinite mandate, but it's really a permanent mandate. At least that's what Dr. Paul Cieslak said. By the way, podcast listeners, just so you know, Oregon is one of those states that never lifted the mandate for indoors. They've had a continuous mask mandate indoors since the beginning of the pandemic. Now they want it permanent or indefinite. We have a clip, and here's that same doctor from the Oregon Department of Health, Dr. Cieslak, talking, and he's being interviewed, and you can hear it in his own words. We have that clip, and here it is.
You know, that might scare a lot of people. They might think, oh my gosh, are we going to be masking for forever? What does a permanent ruling do? Why not just extend the temporary rule?
Permanent means indefinitely. It doesn't necessarily mean permanent. We could repeal it as well. But we are only allowed to have a temporary rule for 180 days. And if anything that goes beyond 180 days, we cannot extend it temporarily. It's either, adopt it formally or let it go.
I know.
So this is the dumbest bill in America. Oregon's permanent mask mandate, which is indefinite. I don't even know what he just said. Can I tell podcast listeners, we have to play this again, because this is the guy who's the top guy in the health department in the state of Oregon.
Scientist.
He's a scientist who apparently follows the science. We have that clip again. You got to listen to it again. Here it is.
You know, that might scare a lot of people. They might think, oh my gosh, are we going to be masking for forever? What does a permanent ruling do? Why not just extend the temporary rule?
Permanent means indefinitely. It doesn't necessarily mean permanent. We could repeal it as well. But we are only allowed to have a temporary rule for 180 days. And if anything that goes beyond 180 days, we cannot extend it temporarily. It's either, adopt it formally or let it go.
I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is what a blue state looks like in modern America during a pandemic, and this is what it looks like.
Well, this is a classic example of politics and science, because this is purely political, because you could change the law, right?
Yes.
But they're accepting the law as it is to make this thing permanent, because that's what he feels he's restricted to. You notice there's no mention of science. There's zero mention of the logic of being masked indoors. There's no science, no studies quoted, nothing related. This is purely politics. And even then, it doesn't make any sense.
No, but it doesn't make any sense. But he said, well, it's an indefinite one, but we have to renew it in 180 days, but it's permanent, but still indefinite. And I mean, I've never heard science talk like that in circles before. A scientist talking in circles like that before. And I think this is what's so
You've
maddening.
heard of Fauci, haven't you?
I've heard, that's right. I am science. Luke, I am your father. I am Dr. Fauci.
We don't need masks. Oh, no, we do need masks. That's a circle.
That is a circle. It's circular speaking and here's my thing. And again, we have Dr. Small here with us. Dr. Small, why is it that it's one size fits all during the pandemic? That's really one of my takeaways during this pandemic. We have a pandemic and everybody's going to have the exact same treatment. There's going to be equity in treatment. It's like, I don't want equity in treatment. I want the treatment that's best for each individual, because not everybody needs the same treatment.
I have 4-letter word for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Easy. It's easy. It's easy to make it mandatory for everybody. It's easy to make something universal, okay? Even if the science goes against it, it's easy. And therefore, that's the thing we're going to do, because then it's universal, right? Everybody likes those terms. And all of this is based on, what is easy. Okay?
It's whatever I guess makes it so that they don't have to put extra work on themselves. But I thought that doctors regularly kept up with journals that they read, medical journals and so forth, and they would read those and then bring that in.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're supposed to do that, but that's difficult and that takes time and that's challenging. And that's what I said earlier. Science requires work. It requires effort. It requires thought. It requires...
But they're doing what's easy because that's their job, I guess. And being a health commissioner, you just want to one size fits all. I want to not work any harder than I have to. And I don't want to be blamed for anyone dying. But in my opinion, more people are dying because of what they were doing, because you don't have the ability to individualize care.
Well, that goes back to what we discussed last time, which is autonomy, right? The individual's right to look at their own health care versus this blatant overreach of politics.
Well, and that's the last word. I want to thank you, Dr. Jim Small.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It sure does. Thank you for joining Mark and the Millennials. This is Mark Fisher. Thank you to Dr. Jim Small for joining us. Thank you to our producer, Christopher Hopkins. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, Rumble, and our website. See you next time.